Let's talk about the process, getting into the playoffs. Who got the breaks and who didn't?
Well, just a lot of times it's where you got sent. Like sometimes Catholic Central in Division I will get sent west and they'll play Rockford in the semifinals. Well, this time they have Catholic Central in the east, and I think the east bracket in Division I is loaded.
Loaded.
And you name all the good teams, Cass Tech, Dakota, Catholic Central, Northville, Walled Lake Western. You can go down the list. There's just a lot. And what they did was they sent Clarkston out west. So
yeah.
I'm looking at Clarkston getting out of Region 2, which they should unless they get beat by Lake Orion. And of course I'm predicting that both Lake Orion and Clarkston get out of their pre-districts. But I think they're going to play Rockford in the semis, which not a far-fetched thing. With Rockford, it seems like they're always there. I mean, you almost have to pay. If you look at Rockford throughout the years, they rarely don't get to the semis.
Yeah.
And it's the big jump for them is to win the semifinals and get to Ford Field. Anyways, I have Clarkston beating Rockford. I don't think Rockford is as good as they were or are in years past.
Ian Erickson now healthy.
Right. I think Clarkston.
Workhorse.
And Clarkston before the season was one of the most talked about teams. There was the offensive line, and they got off to a slow start. And even when Ian came back into the lineup, they were still kind of sputtering.
Yeah.
They're not sputtering anymore. So I got Clarkston in the finals. And in the other bracket, I have Cass Tech, which is going to be tough for Cass Tech. They're going to play the winner of the De La Salle Dakota game, probably in the region final. Then who I think is going to get to the semis is Walled Lake Western. Obviously, Western, in my opinion, is in the toughest district with Canton, Detroit Catholic Central, and Northville, which is just a loaded district. And speaking of brackets, what happened to Canton here? 8-1, great season, and they don't even get a home field for the first round. That's how Tim Beckler's team got kind of put to that way. But I got Western playing Cass Tech, then Cass Tech winning that game, and then Cass Tech beating Clarkston, which if they play at Ford Field, that'd be an excellent game.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
I think you'd get a great crowd.
Absolutely.
You could only imagine, you get the Detroit area supporters for Cass. Obviously, they're two-time defending state champs. Then you'd have all those Clarkston fans.
Yeah.
They would come in busloads.
And the Oakland County fans. Here you had Catholic Central Oakland County here the last 2 years. Couldn't get it done.
Right.
The Oakland County fans would show up. Please, somebody beat Cass Tech.
Well, I think, just like when Lake Orion got there, you have a lot of the public school fans coming in. Okay, Division II. And I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I think we're going to see a rematch. I think we got Brother Rice and Muskegon all set. Of course, Muskegon's got to get by Lowell, assuming they both, Lowell and Muskegon, won their pre-district games. I think Rice is just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I've seen them 3 times this year, and I think they're going to play Wyandotte again in the semifinals. And I got Harrison. You talk about crazy things happening in how they align things. Harrison isn't going to play anybody on the
Things worked
East.
out really well for Harrison.
I think Harrison's going to do well. I got them in the semifinals, and hey, if they get to the semis, which I think they do, they got a shot at Muskegon. Why not? John Harrington's done a marvelous job this year. Their defense is strong. Who knows? But I got Muskegon winning that one, then losing the final to Rice. Quickly to D3, which beginning of the season, I think you were probably going to hand this title to Grand Rapids Christian. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Christian gets to the semifinals after beating St. Joseph in the region final, and then I have DeWitt beating St. Clair, which kind of a surprise. St. Clair's going to have a little tougher road, but I still think they'll get there. Then I have DeWitt beating Grand Rapids Christian in the final. With Jacob Johnson, one of our Mr. Football candidates. And quickly to D4, I got South Christian playing Sexton. Now, Lansing Sexton's never got to a state championship game, in football anyways.
Right.
But I really like Sexton getting past Detroit Country Day in the semifinals, and I have South Christian defeating Comstock Park in the semifinals. Quickly to D5, Menominee, loaded this year, 9-0, coming from the Upper Peninsula. I got them playing Oak Ridge in a regional final. I have Menominee winning that game, playing Lumen Christi in the state champion. I got Menominee against Oak Ridge in the semis, and then Lumen Christi beating Monroe St. Mary Catholic Central in the semifinals. Then you would have a Lumen Christi Menominee matchup, which I think would be somewhat interesting in the sense that you have
Kriski's really good. I mean, Howell gave them all they could handle there in Week 9, but it was Week 9.
Right.
Undefeated again, and just a real powerful running team.
They were up 35-7 in that game against Howell. I was talking to Aaron Metz about that. He was kind of stuck. You talked about the playoff picture, and they were one of the last teams not to get in at 5-4.
Yeah.
And he was complaining about the system. A lot of people complain about the system. I complain about the system. But here he is. They have trouble scheduling Howell, so they have to go and schedule one of really powerhouse private schools in the state in Lumen Christi. And he says that's like a win-win situation for them. They're playing some big school. If they need playoff points, that's a possible win there. It's kind of, anyways. I got Lumen Christi beating Menominee. I think that would be one heck of a game. And D6, I think Ithaca does it again.
Yeah.
Montrose is pretty good. They have 9-0 going into this season. I think that would be a good matchup in the semis against Ithaca. Still have Ithaca winning that. Then I have Shelby and Clinton. You talk about strange matchups. You never really talk about Shelby and Clinton in the semifinals. No. I have Shelby winning that game. I think they've come out of, that's in the Muskegon area there. I have them in the finals losing to Ithaca. D7. Ishpeming I have again against Loyola in a championship game. Ishpeming defeating Harbor Beach in the semis, and Loyola over Homer. Not the baseball team Homer the football team.
And Loyola beating Ishpeming this time?
Yes, I got them. I picked them last year, and I'm kind of talking about Homer. I'm kind of being the Homer here.
Yeah.
I'm picking Detroit Loyola, but I think Loyola is better this year than they were last year.
I do too.
I think they're more
and
balanced.
There's a chip.
Yes.
There's a chip on that shoulder.
Right. I think they were overconfident last year. They had some injuries on the line. Or nobody's going to,
Malik McDowell leaves their program, but he thinks they're done. They got a lot to play for.
No, I think offensively they're much more diversified.
Yes.
D8 I think is really strong this year, more so than it has been in the past. I got Crystal Falls in the semis going against Beale City. Beale City winning that game. Then I got Muskegon Catholic defeating New Lothrop in the semis, and then Muskegon Catholic getting past Beale City in the championship game. But Muskegon Catholic's got a really tough road. Besides New Lothrop in the semis, they're going to have to get by Mendon in the regionals. Mendon's a real strong team, as usual, 9-0 going into the playoffs. So I think Muskegon Catholic's got a tough road to win that title.
Last question with reference to playoffs. Who just missed getting in?
Well, in Class A, it was Grand Ledge and Howell.
You mentioned Howell, yeah.
And Howell and West Ottawa, which would have been interesting talking to Aaron Metz at Howell, because of all the crazy things there. There's 31 teams got in as additional qualifiers. There are 5-4s and 4-4s. And Oxford got in as the last team in Class A, and they needed both Farmington and Bloomfield Hills to win that Friday before. So if one of those loses, then you'd have West Ottawa and Howell tied for the last spot. And Aaron was telling me he figured out the next formula tiebreaker. Him and West Ottawa would have tied for that. They would have flipped a coin.
Wow.
That's happened before too. So it's crazy. Go to 5-12. Forget this 256 stuff. Start the 9th week of the playoffs, and you're going to get all those teams in. Which really surprises me. You got teams like East Grand Rapids loses in overtime the final weekend of the season. Doesn't get in at 5-4. Orchard Lake St. Mary's 5-4 doesn't get in. UAD gets in. UAD gets hammered by St. Mary's during the regular season, but UAD's in and St. Mary's isn't. It's just the way it works.
And Oak Park just squeaked in as well.
Oak Park just got in, and I think they can make noise in the play. I would not be surprised to see them get to a regional final.